Hi, my name is Jon Yoo from Suger, headquarters in San Francisco. Today we have an amazing customer with us from NinjaOne. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What do you do at NinjaOne?
Sure, thanks John. Derrick Roberts. I am a senior director for NinjaOne, overseeing our business development and alliances organization. That includes all of our cloud partners, technology partners, anything that I like to call as inorganic revenue generation falls under my remit.
Got it. And how long have you been at NinjaOne for?
I joined NinjaOne in the fall of 24, so just going on about a year and a half.
Wow.
And prior to that, I was at another hypergrowth company called ID.me. It was a late stage sort of Series C company. And the folks at Capital G were investors at ID.me, and also I led part of the investment into Ninja. And so that connectivity brought me over to NinjaOne.
Got it. And then as you think about scaling your motion over the past year and a half, what did it look like when you first joined NinjaOne, and what does it look like today? And can you tell us a little bit about that evolution?
Sure, yeah, and there's a bit of it's kind of a long-winded story because I think there's some good context that plays into that answer. NinjaOne has been in business for approximately, I think it's like 12 or 13 years, and I may have gotten that wrong, but let's just say for the 90% of its life cycle, NinjaOne was purpose-built for managed service providers. Mm-hmm. Our founder CEO found an opportunity in the market to really innovate on a product which is our core product, which is endpoint management for the managed service provider market. And so the product was purpose-built. We spent the first, call it 10 to 12 years effectively building solutions for the managed service provider market. And then once the product reached parity for internal users, we call them internal IT, we started finding customers who could use it internally, and we started selling into that market. And so before I joined, the company's trajectory was, it capitalized on the managed service provider market and then started selling to internal IT. And that evolution went from, call it small and mid-sized businesses, mid-market businesses, and now we're encroaching into the enterprise market.
Wow.
They actually were on AWS Marketplace. They had a native listing, and when I came, I said, "Hey, like we've got to expand this. We've got to accelerate this because it's just where buyers are at."
Right.
And so when I came in, we wanted to become omni-cloud. We wanted to get multiple listings. We wanted to reach our customers where they're at, and lo and behold, here we are with Suger.
Yeah. And so, I think that's the most common myths, I guess, that people have around Marketplace. Hey, we get listed, where are the leads coming in from? And oftentimes you see a whole host of listings or companies that have dormant listings without much activity on them, and it really does require investment, and I guess that was you. And so as you were starting to activate this, what was some of the biggest problems that you were facing? Did you have the internal backing of the various executives within NinjaOne, down up to the CEO founder level? How did they think about it? Was it more the operational constraints or getting your brand awareness out into the cloud ecosystem, given, you were more focused on the MSP space initially?
Yeah, I mean, anything enterprise focused was unfamiliar. We had the marketplace listing. We were kind of a rising star, if you will, but I think what lacked the most was the sort of internal evangelism for why cloud marketplaces are so necessary in enterprise growth. The sellers weren't apprised of marketplace. They didn't really understand the value, and so in my opinion, the way this journey works is it starts internally and then it works externally. So when I came in, I didn't really focus on, hey, what is AWS not doing for us, or what are we not getting from AWS? It was more, hey, let's start with the basics, 101 level stuff. And I spent a lot of time working with our sales leaders. I give trainings what feels like every other month. And it's like the rule of 7. You have to say these things 7 times before people understand it. But once I mean, the beauty of and the benefit of the hyperscaler go-to-market is like it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So it's not really a complex model to explain.
Right.
And the incentives are all aligned, and there's really no gotchas.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of telling that story, explaining the value. Our founders, they understand the marketplaces, they get it, they see the value. That wasn't difficult whatsoever. It's really like, I think in anything software related, it all happens in the field. So if you have a field team, you've got to make sure that team understands the benefit, the value, how to speak to it, how to bring it up in conversations. And so it's like getting it to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the concept of like you need a dedicated single-threaded owner for any initiative, and I think the hyperscaler relationship is so is it emblematic of that? You know, if you don't have someone that is pounding the pavement 7 times, right, with these sales reps, to get them aware of what cloud go-to-market is, or broadly how to even show up to the hyperscaler sales reps, or even position marketplace along the way. And so tell me a little bit about that journey. It seems like there was, you know, some repetition that needed to be done, but was there anything that comes to mind that made the biggest impact in terms of driving that enablement internally?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. One thing I didn't mention is I think the greatest myth in any alliance or partnership with the cloud providers or otherwise is that there's this myth that you just set it up and it just works. Yeah. Or that it like becomes viral. Yeah. There's no virality with getting a marketplace listing. Right. It's like turning on the lights and then just expecting that like you're going to invent something. It's like, no, you have to put in the work. You know, I'm gonna go kind of off script here. And maybe I don't know.
We like that.
I don't know if this is my superpower or if this is my greatest risk. But I really leaned in on. I knew I needed a proof point. Yeah. And I knew that the only way this is going to work is if I have the belief from a sales rep at NinjaOne. Right. And so we found a deal. Instead of barking orders, I actually, I almost led it for the sales rep in a way. I didn't, I wasn't engaging with the customer, but I wasn't expecting the sales rep to figure out how to navigate the hyperscaler with AWS in this example. So I really leaned in a way that I think isn't scalable, right? I needed just one. So I jumped in, I did all the prep, I did all the, I explained all the value, I did talk to the customer. I carried it into AWS. We figured out a way to find joint value. Yeah. And what it did is it gave the sales rep the illustration of okay, this works. Yeah. And I made it incredibly easy for them so that the next time they come across this, they're able to put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. So that so that they can repeat it. And then what that does is that sales rep talks to another sales rep who talks to another sales rep, and they say, oh, they become an evangelist, which is ultimately what you want. So that's how I overcame the sort of barrier to enlightenment. Yeah. I hope you got commission on that deal, the rep at least took you out to dinner or something. No. I just believe in karma. And so when we think about co-selling, a lot of the focus is around the better together story, right? It's probably a lot more natural for you to talk about, from the partnership angle, hey, this is what this does for, the hyperscalers, whether it's AWS or Microsoft or Google. Mm-hmm. This is the better together story. Here are some of the product or services that we use. Here's how much the consumption that it drives. Curious if that was a hard, pitch to enable the AEs on, who's really just thinking NinjaOne, like endpoint security and whatnot. What did that process look like of explaining that? Because at this point, if you're trying to scale, you can't be on every, you can't rinse and repeat, the motion that you just described. I view that almost like having to go to the gym. It's like there's never a point where you are done exercising. Well, there is for me, but maybe everyone's a little different. It's just a never-ending journey, which is how do we tell the better together story? Right. And how do we make it? How do we fine tune it? How do we make it better day in and day out? I don't think companies spend enough time on the technical solution with
Yeah.
the hyperscalers. I think part of it is if you talk internally, everybody just thinks that they view, I don't want to say they view it myopically, but they almost say, well, why would we want to integrate with that AWS product? Like, what's in it for us? And I'm like, you're missing the forest for the trees. Like, you have to have, besides just the marketplace transaction, you have to have some joint value to keep AWS engaged or to solve the customer's problem. So I actually spend a lot of time. One of the areas that was a huge unlock for us is I hired a partner engineer, and his job is exclusively building out integrations with first-party products, or whether it's with other technology companies. And I spent a lot of time focused on building out our toolkit with those AWS first-party products, which is the most upstream you can go, because once you have the reference architecture, that flows into product marketing, and that flows into field marketing, and that ultimately gets in the hands of our sales reps. And so I spend a lot of time on that because I actually think the value is far greater on the AWS side. It shows better partnership. It shows that we're thinking about their business. We're thinking about the products they offer, so that it's not just a transactional relationship between us and them. It actually becomes this sort of 1 + 1 = 3. So that's how I handle it.
I mean, I think so many folks skip immediately to the go-to-market partnerships, and they're always asking, hey, how do I break in? And it's like, start with the product team. They'll help push whatever joint solutions that you guys have when you build a real better together story beyond just driving consumption, because we're hosted on AWS, for example, but this is how it drives the specific product piece, because now you have a champion within the organization that is on the product side.
And then when those people come across a use case that involves your technology, they think of you versus having to go search the world for some other product that can solve the problem that you've already solved.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit into the operational constraints and like what you've done with Suger, can you describe a little bit about how you use Suger? What are some of the value that it provided to you? Hopefully we've helped you in some regards, but curious if you could provide some details of how that's changed some of the folks outside, their lives, and hopefully your ability to drive partnerships with the hyperscalers.
It's funny. I tend to have a different critique when it comes to partnerships just because of my role. And I will say what drew me into Suger was your team's willingness to partner. In actually two parts. One, that willingness to partner, but two, the user experience of the platform, and just how you thought about my life, in my team's lives, in their day to day. And so you checked a lot of boxes, which was awesome. But from I would argue the thing that gave me the biggest unlock was the CRM integrations, the usability. Like when I say, like, a 5-year-old could use your product, and I think but that's not negative whatsoever. Like, that's what we want. Salespeople are busy. They're focused on other priorities, and so the last thing that we need is for them to get tripped up on how do we submit a lead to AWS, or how do we submit a private offer. And so as a company that is maniacally focused on enterprise growth with huge growth targets, and we're all suffering from signal fatigue, having an easy button with the cloud marketplaces it just makes it so much easier. I can do more with less. And so I would say the journey with Suger has been an incredible one. We looked at multiple products, and then the sort of icing on the cake for me is your customer support. NinjaOne is we have a 99% CSAT rating. we believe in great partnership and customer support and mean time to responding and all of those things. And I can't thank your team enough for jumping on calls at 9 o'clock at night,
Wow.
figuring out why something's stuck or why we can't get access to this or that. So yeah, that's been the journey with Suger, and I'm incredibly grateful for it because we couldn't do what we do without you guys.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure to relay that message to our CS team.
You should.
Yeah, they're pretty phenomenal folks and work.
It's such a thankless job,
Yeah.
but it has saved me a couple times, so it's been great.
I mean, I kind of say internally that CS is, if you can do CS at Suger, you can pretty much do anything, because the level of system knowledge, best practices that are not systems oriented, like different policies across marketplaces, and you basically multiply that times three, because there's marketplace and co-sell. I don't know how they do it, honestly.
Well, and kudos to them, because I can be quite demanding, and if we have a deal on the line, and they there's no. I think the one thing that frustrates me is having a lack of bias for action.
Yeah.
And they're the opposite of that. They're like, what do you need right now? Jump on. So it's great. And hopefully that doesn't change as you guys get bigger. And it might, but I understand how hard it is to run a CS organization.
Yeah.
But for now, it's been great.
Yeah. As we start to wrap this up, I'm curious. We can't not have a recording without at least mentioning AI once.
Okay.
I'm curious, with all the news that are coming out, security's it's probably the number one topic at RSA, I'm sure, with all these threat vectors increasing, and how AI is completely upending the traditional view of software, and specifically how they think about securing workloads. I'm curious how that's changed you guys' product strategy, or even the way that you go to market, or even internally around how you work.
Yeah. NinjaOne views AI and the call it the I don't want to call it a fad because that seems short-lived. It's not short-lived, but the perspective of AI in sort of two parts. One is what is AI demanding of our product, and then two, what can our product, how do we integrate AI thoughtfully in a way that delivers true value versus just jumping into the hype bandwagon. And so for us, especially in IT, we're an endpoint management company. We have an agent that lives on the device. You can imagine that now we're in a world where the threat is not just the person. The threat is now machines, multiple hundreds of thousands of machines all working together to infiltrate the technology of all of our customers. And so we have to be incredibly mindful of that. Now, what we want to do is go upstream with AI, and we're starting to build this into our core products, which is for example, we have a patching product at NinjaOne, and we offer patch sentiment, which is pulling AI, it's collecting or aggregating information around the sentiment of the patches that we run, which those patches are in the spirit of protecting the devices. And so we really want AI to make the usability of Ninja better. We want it to be thinking about things that the technician may not be thinking about.
Yeah.
So that it's almost seamless. The last thing we want is to just slap an AI sticker on the product and it's all hype. Yeah. And I think you're seeing a lot of that. I think people don't talk about that enough, but you are seeing it. I think the market is seeing it. So we're taking a very critically thought out approach to AI. The only downside to that is we miss out, I think, sometimes on the AI bandwagon buzz. But we'll take it. We don't need it. Our customers actually really appreciate that we're genuine with our AI story, and we have so much opportunity to leverage AI in our platform. Yeah, it's just, and it will come. But for now, it's hey, we really want to make sure that the customer is seeing the value. Yeah. from the AI adoption.
Totally makes sense. And you're telling me that you're not just putting AI-powered endpoint security on your website and calling it a day. Yeah.
No, we have autonomous autonomous endpoint management, which is new, and it's gonna there will be agentic elements to it.
Right.
But yeah, no, we're like we prefer to show, not tell.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see some really powerful things come out of Ninja, because there's so much opportunity with managing a device with leveraging AI, but we want it to be done correctly and thoughtfully.
Totally makes sense. And then now with the hyperscalers really pushing AI on their customers and talking about Bedrock or some of the changes, how does that change your narrative when you go to market with the cloud partners?
Yeah, so we leverage. We certainly partner with the hyperscalers in a lot of our AI practices, whether it's using, in some cases, whether it's using Gemini or OpenAI or whatever it may be. We have to tell that story. I think that's we not to say we don't want to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Like, we are relevant, but being a true SaaS company, we really rely on the hyperscaler to bring those capabilities into our platform, into the sort of infrastructure of our product.
Makes sense. All right, we're gonna wrap it up with one thing.
Okay.
Our company name is Suger, so one bitter thing and one sweet thing. It can be anything, professional, personal, going to the gym, I don't know.
One bitter thing and one sweet thing.
Yeah.
About Suger?
Anything, no, just your life, NinjaOne.
One bitter thing, one sweet thing. Okay, this is relevant.
Yep.
I have 3 boys, 7, 4, and 2.5. And
wow, that's a crazy household then.
It is a crazy household. We call the bigs, the middle, and the oldest, both have baseball games today.
Oh wow.
Which I'm missing, which is sad. So that's bitter. However, the Giants and the Yankees are playing tomorrow on opening day. So we're going to go as a team. We're going to go watch the opening day at the Giants Park. So there's your bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's bitter that I'm going to miss my boys. I'm sure they'll play way better without me yelling from the sidelines. But I've never seen the Yankees play.
Okay.
I'm a Red Sox guy, so that's also bittersweet. But I haven't seen Judge in person, so I'm excited about that.
No, it's a beautiful weather in San Francisco right now, so it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe 10 years from now, your kids are going to be on the Giants, or
we'll see.
Play some professional baseball.
If they don't hate me first, but we'll see.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming by, and that was fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Perfect.